All right, let's jump into a quick recap on applying the layers before we actually zone in on the segments. Now I am using the medium filbert styled brush, applying the base orange layer, and now I'm packing my paintbrush with the highlight orange, and we'll go in to dry brush it into the base orange. So the best way to explain my choice between dry brushing and wet brushing is if my previous layer is already wet with paint, then it is easier for me to dry brush in my next set of colors that I want to blend together. Now if I notice that my brush becomes too patchy where the colors aren't blending gracefully, then that's when I dip my brush into the water so it can soften the layer a bit and have the colors blend smoothly. Depending on the layout, my process usually starts by wet brushing when color blocking the layers in together, and then towards the middle stage of building the layers, I do a lot of dry brushing. And then towards the end is when I start wet brushing again to start adding the details. Here I'm using a small flat brush to apply highlights to the tiger's eyes. With just white paint, it really stands out against the color of his pupils. You want to look at your reference picture and see where the light source is shining on his eyes so that it can reflect it accurately on your painting. Here I'm going to show you an up-close example with stippling, which is similar to scumbling. It's just a pattern technique where you're dabbing the brush to create texture. So now I'm going to use a wider flathead brush to cover a wide range of the tiger's nose. I'm using the highlight orange to capture the lightest part of his fur that sits right in the middle of his nose. While I'm dry brushing with this color, you can see that eventually the more that I stretch it out, the more that it faints into the previous layer. And the previous layer still reflects through the highlights. So it's giving you this illusion and it's causing texture to the naked eye. Here I've just added a little bit more white to my highlight orange, and I'm using the tip of my flathead brush to create this texture. Next I'm going to go in with the undertone and just create some dark spots of what I see in the tiger's nose, as far as like creating some shadow in between some of those stubby hairs. Please do not overthink this process. Have fun with it, let yourself go. Yes, pay attention to the reference picture, but don't be so precise as to where you're really like about to lose it, trying to be the perfectionist that you are. Add some dots wherever your heart feels like it should go. That's how you get more confident. It's like you see the picture, but you allow yourself to free flow with creating. Now I'm going to let the layers of his nose dry a bit and jump to his forehead. Here I'm using my highlight orange and creating hairs by using the tip of my flathead brush. I'm going to also take that same brush and go in to apply small black dots of hair that I seen lying between the wrinkles of his eyes. Here I'm just filling in some areas with the highlight orange and even more so a tad of white that has been added to that mix to really bring out the strands of hair. Depending on where the hair is growing, some of my strokes are where the brush is being flicked up and some of the brush strokes are being flicked down, just so it can imitate how the hair appears. Here I'm going to go in with a small round brush so I can start detailing the hair on his eyes. As you see, I am flicking the brush outwards so that it can imitate the way that the hair grows. So the nose area has dried a bit, and I'm going to go back in with the highlight orange and add some more texture. Here I'm adding some random shadows and stray hairs that appear on his nose from the reference picture. Here I just wet my brush so that I can graze some of that undertone to create wrinkles in his forehead. Now I'm jumping back to his eyebrows to create more strands of hair. To get a smooth application, you want to make sure that your brush is wet so it easily glides and creates those sharp lines for you. Now I'm working towards the outer portion of his face where his mane starts to get more fluffier, so my brush strokes are a bit more elongated in certain areas. With the tiger's ear, I applied a first layer of gray, which is an equal mixture of black and white. And now I'm applying a tinted white, which has a hint of yellow in it, around the outer part of the ear, and then some black towards the inner part of the ear. Now, I didn't take out the time to really blend or define it because majority of the ear is going to be covered with brush strokes of hair strands. So here I'm just lining the top of the ear with the highlight orange, and then towards the bottom of the ear I'm lining it with a flat black. Here I'm taking a small round brush which is wet and packed with white paint, and I'm going to create outward brush strokes with where the hair grows. The brush strokes are quick, precise, and drawn out so that it can create that feathered fur look. These first strands are tinted with a yellow white, and I will go back in and apply a flat white on top just to give it a mixture of the two. And now I'm just applying some shadows that the fur is casting as well as in the crease of the ear. Here I'm just touching up some of those strands with more flat white, just creating some random wisps to make it look more natural. Here I'm going in with the highlight orange and applying some more random hair strokes to the mane. I'm being more short with my brush strokes and creating quick hair-like strokes that imitate the top of his neck. You can accomplish this best by turning your flathead brush to the side and stroking up or down. Here my brush is wet and I'm blending in some black fur to blend in with the highlight orange. Here I'm softening some of the edges of the stripes with a wet brush and black paint. I'm also going in to define the black fur so that it can overlap the other colored fur, which further makes them appear in unison. I'll catch you in the next video for the final step so we can see this tiger come to life.